Chapter 442, Opportunity to Act. Seeing Franca appear before her as Paulina, Jenna couldn't help but marvel at the wonders of the lie accessory. This transformation was countless times more potent than that of an actor of the mother tree of desire pathway. It was the most mystical disguise she had ever encountered. Franca gazed at her reflection in the full-body mirror and stroked her face gently. She chuckled and said, "I like this style too." "What don't you like?" Lumion mocked. "This is called having an eye for beauty." Franca opened Paulina's wardrobe and chose a pair of pajamas that could hide many items. She entered the master bedroom's washroom and began changing. Soon, Madame Paulina emerged. Jenna knew Franca well, but she temporarily couldn't tell the authenticity. After Franca entered invisibility, Lumion administered some truth serum to the unconscious Paulina. He estimated the time and felt that it was about time. Then, he took out the mysticism smelling salts and brought them to Paulina's nose. Amidst the sneezes, Lumion capped the bottle and retreated into a crevice beside the wardrobe, preventing Paulina, who had regained consciousness, from seeing him. Jenna retrieved a small revolver from her dark brown belt, squatted down, and pressed it against Paulina's forehead, ready to pull the trigger. Paulina snapped out of her daze and saw a face adorned with a silvery white half-mask. The face was uncovered, and although the skin wasn't fair and had some flaws, and the texture was concealed by cosmetics, the curves were quite beautiful, making people of the same sex take a second look. Immediately after, Paulina felt the coldness of the gun's barrel and saw a revolver held to her head. Her body tensed instinctively. Jenna didn't give her a chance to express her doubts or pleas. She asked bluntly, "When will Bouvard Pontero arrive?" Paulina replied subconsciously, "In the next 2 days." Before she could finish, she suddenly shut her mouth, disbelief etched on her face. Why did I say what was on my mind? Jenna raised a second question based on her preparations. "In the past 2 months, among the mysterious men who visited you under the cover of night, who was Bouvard Pontero, or were all of them him?" Paulina struggled for a few seconds before blurting out, "No, it's Bouvard only once a week. The rest are just his attempts to confuse others. Moreover, he changes his appearance every 2 or 3 times. He has transfiguration." Jenna asked curiously, "Will the others Bouvard Pontero send sleep with you? Did they keep up the act to the very end, or did they only keep up appearances for the latter half?" "No," Paulina replied, swallowing her saliva. "Bouvard possesses a strong sense of possessiveness. Since I've already become his lover, he won't allow me to have any more intercourse with other men. The people he sends will only chat with me, have dinner with me, and wander around the bedroom for a while before leaving." Very possessive, Lumion's thoughts raced as he listened in the shadows, recalling the mysticism knowledge he had obtained when he became a contractee. Soon, he found a contracted creature that fit the criteria and its corresponding abilities. Evil Shadow Black Beast, a spirit world creature that resides in the shadows of creatures. The birth of its descendants requires the stripping of a shadow as a carrier. Creatures that lose their shadows will die on the spot. By sacrificing a human's shadow, he could obtain the shadow substitution ability from the Evil Shadow Black Beast, and his possessiveness would significantly increase. By controlling the target or subduing them in advance, he could complete shadow substitution in battle and use someone else's shadow to take damage on his behalf, avoiding dangerous attacks. Under such circumstances, the distance between the main body and the target couldn't exceed 20 meters. "I wonder how much those actors earn?" Jenna teased with a smile before asking, "What sequence beyonder is Bouvard Pontero equivalent to? What contractual abilities does he possess?" Paulina pursed her lips, unwilling to answer. After a few seconds, she couldn't resist the urge to spill the beans. She opened her mouth and said, "Bouvard is an ascetic. He said that a fate appropriator is the most important sequence of the inevitability pathway before obtaining godhood. One needs to make significant contributions to obtain the corresponding boon. He's still far from that. He once mentioned that ascetic can have 6 contractual abilities, but I don't know if that refers to ordinary circumstances or special circumstances." Leaning against the wardrobe, Lumion couldn't help but chuckle inwardly. Temibarose, are you aware of this? He didn't ask because he knew Termibarose wouldn't answer such a question. Paulina continued, he didn't display all his abilities in front of me. He always wore pajamas and didn't expose his upper body during sex. I've seen him emerge from the shadows and know he has 3 imps. He even suggested I choose the Danger Premonition ability, believing it to be useful. Shadow Burial, Tamed Imps, Danger Premonition, Shadow Substitution, Transfiguration, that's a total of 5 contracted abilities. If Bouvard Pontpero is nothing special, there should be only one unknown contracted ability. Even if he's stronger than ordinary ascetics, there's a high chance that his total abilities won't exceed 8. Lumion quickly formed a clearer understanding. The price of Shadow Burial was having normal dreams. The downside was becoming more extreme and paranoid. The price of Tamed Imps was 3 infant corpses that had died before they were born. The downside was that he had to use his life force to feed the imps, and there was a risk of backlash. The specific method was to grow sarcomas that looked like breastfeeding. Danger Premonition involved sacrificing fertility and become mentally weak. Contracti abilities are truly peculiar. Ever since becoming a witch and becoming deeply involved in the Sinner's organization, Jenna had learned about contracti, alms monk, ascetic, and other inevitability sequences. She now knew why Lumion possessed Spell of Harumph, Spirit World Traversal, and other abilities. She thought for a moment and asked, apart from contractual abilities, does Bouvard Pontpero possess any mystical items, beyonder weapons, or other items? Paulina shuddered inexplicably. He has 2 pockets that I can't touch. He always chooses the kind of pajamas with pockets or pants pockets. Carries some items, I wonder what powers they possess, but at least we won't end up empty-handed. Lumion allowed his thoughts to wander. Jenna followed the predetermined rhythm of their conversation and inquired about Paulina's performances in front of Bouvard Pontpero, her interactions with the butler and servants in the building, her abilities, and her assets. It wasn't until Lumion tossed the sedative from the Bliss Society that Jenna stopped asking and caught it with her freed left hand. Then Paulina fainted again. She possesses regeneration, much like a vampire's self-healing ability. The sedative's effects will likely be diminished and won't endure for long, Jenna inquired. Why didn't you simply eliminate her? Lumion cast a glance at the new witch and let out a chuckle. You're quite the ruthless one, aren't you? Jenna pursed her lips and stated, showing kindness to heretics only harms innocent citizens. Exactly. Franca, disguised as Paulina, deactivated her invisibility and concurred. The more she observed Witch Jenna, the more she found herself liking her. Despite Jenna deliberately donning unattractive makeup and a half-mask, Franca had a discerning eye for beauty. Lumion scoffed and said, haven't you heard that Bouvard Pontpero seems to possess Danger Premonition? Even though you can counter divination, if Paulina were to die now and her boon's power returns to its source, do you think Bouvard won't receive a warning from fate? Anthony still has time to enter. He won't engage in direct combat, but he'll serve a purpose in my scheme. Lumion not only aimed to capture Bouvard Pontpero, but also intended to act as a conspirer in this endeavor. I understand, Franca said with widened eyes. I just adhere to the notion of being ruthless toward heretics. As she spoke, she removed the Lie silver pendant from her chest and tossed it to Jenna. Lumion instructed Anthony Reed to infiltrate the building via the outer wall of the master bedroom. As the drizzle descended into night, the gas street lamps on both sides of the street emitted a hazy glow. At 20 Rue de la Terrasse, a man in a silk top hat, black suit, and dark bow tie rang the doorbell. He had an ordinary appearance, short, thick eyebrows, and deep blue eyes. He wouldn't attract anyone's attention when he walked along the bustling arcade. The butler of the house opened the door. He glanced at the visitor and discreetly gestured. The man formed a circle with his hands and asked, "Where's Paulina?" "Madame awaits you in the bedroom," the butler replied respectfully. The man nodded and made his way through the living room and up the stairs, arriving outside the master bedroom. Without knocking, he turned the handle and entered. In the spacious and warm master bedroom, the wall lamps had all been extinguished. The candlelight flickered dimly, casting a soft, rosy glow that quickened one's pulse. The man's eyes fixed on Paulina, reclining on the bed, and a grin crept across his face. Why does it feel even more enticing than before? Something special just for you, Paulina whispered. The man stared at the alluring contours, his pulse racing. He chuckled and said, "Why do I find you more captivating than ever?" "I dressed up just for you." Paulina, in her two-piece pajamas, seemed bashful, her cheeks flushed as she closed her eyes. The man swallowed hard, his mind on high alert, though his body couldn't resist taking a step forward.